address is what exactly are we playing scale-wise or harmony-wise to get these sounds. And since we're playing over dominant 7th chords, we're going to be using a Mixolydian mode or Mixolydian scale, which is the same as a major scale, but instead of the major 7th, we're going to lower the 7th, and that gives us the dominant 7th chord. Now in the download, we actually have thirds written out for you, going up and down the fretboard on all the string pairs, also sixths. I'm going to go through the first set on the first string, and you'll see that they're color-coded. The notes that are surrounded by a green circle, those are the roots. This note right here, that's the A. We're over an A7 chord. The red ones get played together, the blue ones get played together, and so on. All right, and you can do it on the next set of strings. And so on. The sixths are the same idea, it's just that they're a little wider apart. A third refers to the interval, or the distance between two notes that are being played at the same time. With a third, it's 3 note names. If we're on C, for instance, D would be the second note, E would be the third note. So C to E would be a third. All right. If we were to play a sixth, we'd be going up that scale, C, D, E, F, G, A. C to A is a sixth, right? And it's a different sound, it's a different distance between notes. So if we were to play sixths in A7, we'd be playing them not on adjoining strings. You can do it, but it's kind of frustrating to play. But we'll play them on the first and third strings. Once again, the notes that have a green circle around them, that's your root. That tells you what key you're in. And you can move this around to fit any of the chords as long as you know your fretboard. Now, the PDF has all the string sets, and I'm not going to take 5 minutes worth of lesson time to go through all these, but that's the basic idea for most of these licks. All right, so here are a few highlights out of the solo. The very first part of it, we start with a third that's actually not played together, but separate, but I keep the notes held down so they ring together. This adds to the thickness. This idea off of the A chord right here, this where I do a lot of this where I'm playing the 7th fret on the 2nd and 3rd strings and on the 4th string. That's basically a D triad. That actually creates like this suspension, this little bit of tension that we resolve to. And it's always important to remember that even if you're playing notes like this as opposed to the single note lines we've been doing, you still want to be building phrases that make sense in terms of question and answer. So we've got all of those are thirds harmonized on the first 2 strings. Then we've got our D triad. Slide into the chord, the A chord. Actually, there isn't this note there, but I'll play that a lot. Now, this is a third right here. And remember from other lessons, I've talked about the fact that I like in blues music to approach the third from a half step below. So even with these chords, it's kind of nice to slide in. But you can slide any of these chord fragments around, and it's kind of a nice sound. Over the 4 chord, over the D, we're actually moving triads, 3 note chords. This is a D major chord. That's the 3rd, the 5th, and the root. Right there, we go down a half step, and then we resolve or end here with that little pattern. And that gives us the 7th, the 11th, and the 9th. They're all colorful notes. I wouldn't want to sit here too long, though, over the D chord. You know, it definitely wants to go someplace else. So we do that. Right? This D9 chord, you've heard this a million times on slow blues tunes like Stormy Monday. It's a great chord embellishment. We're going to use the parts on the 2nd and 3rd strings from that. You could also, if you wanted to, play all 3 strings. However you want to do it. When we get to the 5 chord, in this, we actually, I play some sixths. All right, and what I'm doing is on the second and fourth strings, I'm sliding into this, the third of the chord, that's the fifth of the chord. All right, and I'm playing the fifth right there. So they're all chord tones, a little chromatic walk down, and then that's the third of the chord in the root. So that's actually just like out of an E7 or an E major in that position there. Always make sure that whatever you're playing, it still makes sense to the chord. Keep in mind what the chord shapes look in there, even if you don't know all the theory yet, and that'll kind of help you out. Your ears also. The next part, we're going back to this D9 chord shape. All right, and all I'm doing is I'm taking it 2 strings at a time. I play the third and fourth strings, back up a fret and slide up, and then I start on the 4th fret on the second and third strings, slide up into where the chord shape would be, and then I play the note on the 1st string. Yeah, I'll even move. Yeah, it's just one of those things that sounds really cool over a 9th chord, over a blues. But you can also do it, you know, even with just an A major triad. The lick over the last 2 bars of the first chorus here is actually, it's almost like an organ lick that I've stolen from a Stevie Ray Vaughan solo. I think he does something like this in Cold Shot. But you're going to play the root of the chord on the 1st string, and then on the 3rd string, you're basically playing notes out of the A blues scale. And since you're holding that root down, they all kind of ring together, and it's a real nice sound. I love that. I use it a lot. I'll couple it with some of these thirds. The second chorus, we're going to use a full-on 7th chord here. This is just an A7 chord. Right, just like if we were playing an open D7 chord down here at this end. Right, that's a 6th. This is actually like a B minor triad, but it kind of works in this context. And then into the A chord right here. Almost sounds kind of Steve Croppery. The next bit here, more 6ths. And this actually is pretty similar to what we did up here on the 4 chord. All right, we're just taking the 6ths down. This is from the A chord, 3rd and root. That's the 9th and the 7th. And then this part right here, just like what we did here over the D chord, just over the A. The next little part of this, more 6ths. Over the D chord, you know, we're still kind of using this D9 chord shape for a lot. I like the sound of it in this context. All right, and I'm just sliding it up. And I'm playing the notes on the 1st and 3rd strings, which gives me some 6th, even though I'm sliding the whole chord shape around. I'm not really playing the note on the 2nd string that much. The next 1 chord, we're playing more 6ths, but we're actually kind of playing in reverse of everyone's favorite simple blues turnaround. So we're actually sliding in here, and then playing these chromatically up. And if you think about it, that's where your 7th chord was, the A7. Back down. All right, and then playing the 6ths on the 2nd and 4th strings. For the 5 chord, kind of similar to what we did earlier. We're just kind of expanding and playing on some different strings. Kind of rephrasing it a little bit over the 4, but coming up here. And then the last part, I'm playing some oblique bends. I'm playing a 6th and I'm bending. Now, I've got the 9th fret on the 1st and 3rd strings. Notice I'm using these 2 fingers. This is the easiest way to get that bend to happen. Coming down to the 7th. And then when I play this part, I set the note on the first 2 strings first. You got to pre-bend the note on the 3rd string and bring it down. They all